a common misconception in gaming that old equals good. I mean, that definitely seemed to be the presumption among lots of gamers online as information for the Rise of the Triad remake was being released. And now, after having played it from start to finish, I can safely say that that confidence was definitely placed correctly. Fans of the 90s game are no doubt going to enjoy the trip down memory lane, but for those who aren't familiar with the series, there is very little on offer. And Rise of the Triad 2013 is going to be a frustrating and bizarre experience. Developed by a small team called Interceptor Entertainment, Rise of the Triad 2013 is little more than a reimagining of the original Rise of the Triad with a graphical facelift, and a few other new additions to make it seem more modern. It doesn't copy the game level for level, but it does try to replicate the same gameplay elements, so weapons like the heat-seeking missile, the firebomb, and bazooka all make a return, as do power-ups like God Mode and Dog Mode, and it's great fun to use them again. Watching bad guys falling to their knees begging for mercy, flying around the map on the numerous bounce pads, and collecting plates of priest porridge are all back. And this really shows that the dev team are very familiar with the game's origins. They've also included lots of achievements and a really robust multiplayer mode to increase the game's replayability. It's great that they've got this much interest in keeping the game in tune with its roots, but it doesn't really change the fact that at the end of the day, it's really just a remake of a subpar shooting game from the 90s. Now, I know it's going to piss off a lot of people that I refer to the original game as subpar, but it really is true. The 90s had lots of fantastic FPS games, and Rise of the Triad really wasn't one of them. Even for the time of its release, the game is very simple and quite dated. All of the problems and mediocrities of the first game have been brought across into this new reboot, with little unchanged. Obviously, Rise of the Triad 2013 looks and sounds a lot better, but then on the other hand, it's also very poorly optimized. It uses the Unreal 3 engine and looks good enough for the most part, but nowhere near as good as it should for the toll it takes on the overall performance. I can play most Unreal 3 engine games on the max settings with little to no frame rate drops, but I had to turn this down to medium and fiddle around with a few things just to get a stable 60 frames a second. I mean, the good thing about PC gaming is that this kind of thing can be patched out, but it doesn't change the fact that the original launch version is bugged to shit. You'd really hope a PC exclusive would run a lot better than this. The increase in detail also means it's often hard to pinpoint where the hell bullets are coming from, and quite often you'll take a fair bit of damage before being able to identify your attackers. Aside from this, the game also does away with the manual save system and instead uses checkpoints throughout the levels, normally 2 or 3 per mission. The dilemma here is that the gameplay doesn't really support this type of system. The game is hard, I mean, as it should be, yet what this means is that you'll be replaying areas over and over, often from sporadic, sudden deaths that are impossible to predict or prevent. Traps, poorly designed platforming, and explosive-wielding enemies are going to be the biggest offenders here. Some of the platforming areas in the later episodes in particular are downright atrocious. If you look at the overall game in terms of what it set out to achieve, which is basically just a flashy remake of the original, then you've got to give the development team kudos, as it's mission accomplished for the most part. They really did capture the same level design and shooting that the original is well known for. Without trying to sound snide or condescending though, I don't think people would really get this game unless they actually played the original, and the fact that this remake is so bad is what makes it so good. On that note, you can't really recommend this game unless you're already a serious fan, but for the cheap price tag, it isn't really a waste of money, though its novelty does wear out pretty quickly.
Damn!
I would think newer gamers are also going to be completely bewildered in regards to most of the things on offer, as it ultimately feels like a massive inside joke aimed squarely at people who are familiar with the original content. The best thing to come out of this remake is that Interceptor Entertainment have reportedly been given permission to continue their work on the Duke Nukem Reloaded project. And if they can recreate Duke 3D as faithfully as they've done Rise of the Triad, then good things are definitely in store.